Yeah, well, I mean, what we're really looking for is companies that are solving real problems. So problems that are faced by millions of people all around the world, and coming up with a really innovative solution that in some way is based on Bitcoin. So bringing Bitcoin to the world using Bitcoin in a really scalable way. A lot of what there's a few different companies we'll be looking at right now. There is still a way to go in terms of the technological development of Bitcoin and the Lightning Network. So, for instance, companies that are building out infrastructure, capital management solutions for the Bitcoin and Lightning networks. There's a lot of growth in that. But then what's really coming to light now is Bitcoin's power as a fast and cheap form of monetary transactions. And so at the moment in the US, like we were talking about the cost of remittances being really, really high and how that's really obvious. But even in the US, 2 to 3% of GDP is actually just financial transactions, which again is an inefficiency. So we don't feel the pain every day, but there is this pain there, and it does create a lot of barriers and issues for companies and individuals. If you think about, say, a merchant not being able to accept a transaction of less than $10 because the fee is just too high. And so what we're seeing is some really interesting ideas using Bitcoin payment rails as a way to solve these issues of transactions in the fiat space being really, really expensive and also slow. And what's really exciting is particularly with Taro, which is this new technology allowing basically stable coins and to be built on top of Lightning. And what you'll see is that the payment rails don't even have to look like Bitcoin. So the users of these payment solutions will just see USD to USD, and they might not even realize that they're using Bitcoin underneath it. So that's what gets us some of the types of ideas that get us really excited.
And then, so that's huge and has a global impact. Do you think some of these technologies can really penetrate into some countries where the existing establishment may not necessarily want them? Because I think in Canada right now, we don't have some of we don't have Cash App in Canada. We don't have some of the Lightning functionality that, the US has. Do you think some of these technologies just infiltrate into countries, even if the established financial network or system is considers them a threat? Like, how do you see that evolving? Because I feel like in Canada, we're so dominated by like 5 or 6 huge banks in this particular country. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, I feel like I want this stuff immediately as an end user, but can it penetrate in here, or is it just going to take forever? What comes to mind?
And it's a similar market to Australia, I would say, where you have this domination by a small group of banks. And in a way, it's similar in the US. There's an extent to which governments can regulate and existing companies can try and keep down new technology. But you get to a tipping point where no amount of if people want a technology and it's being developed and it's coming to the technology is being available, governments and companies won't be able to stop that from happening, is my sense. They're going to try, and it will vary by company, or by country. But I think what's really encouraging is countries like the US, for instance, really wanting to be that hub for innovation in the world, and recognizing that to be that hub for innovation, so much of what's currently happening in innovation is around the crypto landscape and Bitcoin. And so if they're not involved in it, they're going to be left behind. And we have conversations with companies, whether it's partners at Goldman Sachs that I know, or people working with huge corporations all around the world, and everyone is talking about crypto. And so there's just, when it gets to that scale that it's crossing the chasm moment, we call it, if you look at kind of technological adoption, governments and companies just aren't going to be able to stop